Welcome back to another video at Standard Time. Today we'll be doing the review of this watch, the Invicta Pro Diver.
89260B reference. Okay, so we have a standard time scale. So that's essentially what we've developed to rate our watches for review. And this is an objective review. You probably don't see the scoring, but let's begin with the categories. First, price, then case diameter, movement, the case in general, bezel, movement finishing, bracelet, clasp, crystal, weight of the watch, crown, lugs, tactility, dial, hands, loom, and water resistance. So 17 categories.
So before we start with the actual rating, I would like to let you guys know that we do have an Instagram. We do have a website. Both of them are at Standard Time Insta. Website is standardtimeinsta.com.
And subscribe.
Go check us out. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we can actually start with
So price.
We have come up with like a system for the price that basically if it's under $100, it kind of has to be a 10 out of 10, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of watches offer.
I mean, so our price rating would always be the same. So both of us, 10 out of 10, under 100.
Under 100.
Perfect.
Yeah, makes sense.
Now going on to case diameter, 40 millimeters. Again, we've fixed it.
Yes, exactly. Again, it is a fixed category. 40 millimeters. It's what a lot of people use like as a standard.
Ideal case
Tactility,
diameter.
Nautilus, so Rolex Submariner, which you know this
Takes
watch
after, yeah.
is based upon. Yes, so it makes sense. It makes sense.
So again, 10, because it's 40 millimeters.
And that's for both of us.
Yeah.
Now, first one, movement. NH35. It's a pretty decent movement. A lot of micro brands use it.
Seiko movement.
Seiko
so
movement.
It's standard.
It is the lower end of the Seiko movements.
I mean, it's higher than something like the 726.
Yes.
Because it's got hacking, it's got hand winding. Those
Exactly.
are some key features that you'd like to see.
Of course.
And for this price range, I think that's great. So what are you giving it?
Exactly. Like for this price range, it's great, but as a movement overall, I would say it's a 4 out of 10.
And I'm going with also 4 out of 10. I mean, there's nothing spectacular about this movement. It does the job. So that, I guess, fits.
Yeah.
So next, we've got the case. What do you think of the case?
So within the cases that also I think comes the thickness of the watch. And that's where I have most of my problems with this watch. I think it is too thick. They can't really do much about it because the Rolex Submariner in it by itself is also quite thick. So if they want to stick to character, it's
about 14 millimeters thick. I mean, that's a bit above, I think, average watches somewhere between 10 and 12.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think they can really do anything about it, especially because it has a case back.
And it's a Submariner Homage.
This is a Submariner Homage, so they don't really design it themselves. But I do want it to be thinner. So that's why I've given it a 3.
You've given it 3?
Yes.
I've given it a 5.
Okay, so 3 and 5.
I think the case is fine. I'm not too concerned about the thickness because I know it takes after Submariner and that's kind of the same deal. And as long as it's not on a NATO, I feel like as long as it's not on a double pass NATO.
Okay.
I find the thickness okay, but once I put it on a NATO, it's a bit thick for me, but still, it's a very feel-like watch, so I can excuse it. So 5 out of 10.
Okay. So the next category is the bezel. Now, because it's very true to its origin, Submariner, I do feel that like the finishing on the bezel is quite nice, but I'm not able to turn it as easily as I would want it to be turned.
So you want the grip to be improved?
I would want the grip to be improved, but the action is quite good. I think you are able to hear it. I really, really like the action. There is play to it, but way less than, for example, my Seiko 5 that has a worse action, but I feel the grip on the Seiko 5 is better.
And it's also a thicker bezel on this.
It's also a thicker bezel. It extrudes a bit more, so it's easier for me to handle, but it has a worse action. I like the action on the Invicta, but it's not. I don't have the grip for it, you know.
So what's your score?
So my score would be a 6 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 because I was so blown away by the bezel on this watch. I did not expect it to be so tight and quite so precise, and the sound is just fantastic.
Yeah.
And it takes quite a quite an amount of force to turn it, which is great in this circumstance. So I think it's one of the better bezels I've ever tried. 9 out of 10.
No, definitely.
It's also 120 click, I think.
Okay. So moving on, 6, the movement finishing. NH35, it doesn't really have any finishing apart from the custom rotor.
Yellow Invicta signature.
Yeah,
rotor.
yellow Invicta rotor. I guess that's why I've given it 1 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave it a 2 out of 10. I mean, it's a bone stock movement, but the rotor is a nice addition. It's better than having the same colored rotor as the rest of the movement. So two.
I think like that's where I would put it like 0 out of 10. Just exactly the NH35 without anything custom. Yeah.
Next category, bracelet.
So even if I understand that the bracelet is not the best quality out there, I actually really liked it. So much that I've put it on my Alpha. Or I've been wearing it for a while on my Alpha. Mostly because it is quite a clone, or like it is inspired by the Rolex bracelet, you know.
Yeah, the Oyster bracelet.
The Oyster bracelet. So it does have the difference in finishing. And that I really liked.
So it's got the polished center links and it's got that nice taper.
Exactly.
From 20 millimeters to I think about 16 or 17, something like that.
It is pins. It is a pin bracelet,
nice.
which is not the best out there.
I mean, it's what you see for the price and quite a lot more price also.
Exactly.
So,
well, and then the clasp is a bit, but I personally have given it 4 out of 10. I like the design. I just don't like the feel of it too much.
I think I've given it the same score. Bracelet, 4 out of 10. Okay. I don't like the bracelet really that much. I would put it on a NATO or a leather strap or something else. But it is a decent bracelet for the price. So that's why it deserves a 4. I don't like what we're getting into next, which is the clasp.
Okay. Yes. So this is, I think, where a lot of opinions might get. It's not a great strap. It's not a great clasp. It is a pressure fit.
Double fold over.
I guess I like the security of a double fold over, but it just doesn't feel too
nice,
too high quality, you know.
Yeah. It is stamped, so that's not that great. It does have a fair few number of micro adjustments, about 4. That's pretty standard, I guess. It's not too bad. Yeah. So what are you giving it?
I guess also like if you compare it to like the real Oyster bracelet, it just doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't hold at all.
It doesn't hold. So I'm personally giving it a 4 out of 10.
3 out of 10, for the reasons explained. Okay, we can move on to the crystal.
So this watch is pre-owned. So
I purchased this used. It's 2 years old and it's been beat up quite a lot. So the crystal has quite some damage to it. So, but we're not talking about a used watch essentially. So
well, we're thinking that this watch is like new, or like how you would get it if you purchased it new, and the crystal has chips on it. It's only a 2-year watch. Now it really depends how you treat the watch.
It's a mineral crystal. So
it's a mineral crystal, so it will get scratches or chips. But my Seiko 5 is also 2 years old. It's also Hardlex Seiko crystal, and it doesn't have anything. So it really, really depends on how you treat it. Now, with that in mind, it is a flat crystal, so it's not like watchmaking.
Not special.
It's not too
standard.
Special, exactly.
It's exactly what the Submariner has. It has the Cyclops, which is a nice addition. In my opinion, I like the Cyclops. Yeah. So what score are you going?
So I'm personally giving it a 3 out of 10. I'm
giving it a 4. Yeah, pretty close. I like the Cyclops, so I think I like it more than you. So. Hence the difference, and there's nothing much else to add about the crystal.
Yeah, it's quite a standard crystal.
It doesn't have that laser etching that Rolexes do, but you don't expect that anyway. So
next we're gonna hit on the weight of the watch. I like the feeling of the watch because it does feel very solidly well put together. It feels well put together.
So you like the heft of it with the bracelet on
With
your
the
wrist?
bracelets on. However, I would want it to be both thinner and more weight. I think that has a lot, or like personally, I think that has a lot to do with the rotor. Sometimes I feel I move it and the rotor doesn't just...
You can hear it.
Yeah, you can hear it, but I would want it to move faster, or like have a better movement with me.
Okay.
Yeah. But so what I'm giving it from the weight is a 6 out of 10.
7 out of 10 for me. I think it's all right. It's not too light, which is a good thing, as it's going after Submariner, which is a really solidly built watch, and it feels quite solid too. So I think it's got decent weight. I like watches a bit heavier, just the way you do, but some may not. Anyhow, 7 out of 10 for me. And we can move on to the next category.
Yes. So the next category would be crown. I really like the action on the movement. Now, of course, that I think that has a bit more to do with the NH35, but I like how it feels winding. At this price, I think it's a pretty decent value proposition. I just feel sometimes it's a bit. It's not as solidly well put together as the rest of the watches. So I personally give it a 6 out of 10. It's good. There are rooms for improvement though.
So I've given it an 8 out of 10 because I think the crown is quite solid. I don't quite like how much it does protrude out. I don't like the size and the physical dimensions that much, but it is signed. I don't like the weird signature it has on it, but it is signed. It's very easy to grip. So that works well, and when you pull it out, I think it's quite solid in terms of no play in the movement, but that's more to do with the movement, I guess.
Yes.
So overall, I like the shape of the crown. I like how it feels, and it gets an 8 out of 10.
Okay. So moving on, lugs. I don't really have much to say about the lugs. They're a bit shorter than other ones. But when it comes to like polishing, which is what I critiqued quite a lot on the Alpha, and how it integrates with the bracelet.
Yeah, the change in
this isn't
finish
as bad as.
This is a polished lug. I mean,
it's a polished look. It doesn't.
Case in general, it's polished.
So it's not as intrusive or like as the other one. So I've given it 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10.
5 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 3 because I really don't like when you have. So essentially, when you have a bracelet designed watch, so this is based on Submariner, it's meant to be on an oyster-style bracelet.
Yes.
So you have your end links, and because of that, you have to protrude the lugs out from the case quite a bit. Now, when you change strap to something like a leather or silicone, you have that gap between the case and the spring bar. I really don't like that, but it's meant to be on the strap. But the thing is, I would not use it on the strap. That's why I have a problem with the lugs, and that's why it gets a 3 out of 10.
Okay. 3 out of 10. Cool. So, moving on to the tactility of the watch. Feels very robust. And everything that is interactable feels very well put together,
Yeah. I think the same. I find it to be a really, really solid watch. I don't have many gripes with it. I'm not a fan of the bracelet, but in terms of case construction and the rest of it, it's quite solid.
So like because of the problems I've had with the bezel and with the crown that I already explained, I've given it a 5 out of 10. There is a lot of room for improvement, but I feel that at this price range, it's not half bad, 5 out of 10.
I've given it an 8 out of 10. I think excluding the bracelet, it's quite fantastic, and it's a lot more solid than I would have expected.
Moving on to the dial, and I have a bit of a problem here, mostly because I don't really like the lettering in this specific model. It feels very tiny. I can't really read it from afar. I would want it to be a bit bigger, kind of more like a Submariner.
Yeah.
But I think that's why they decided it to be small, because they didn't want to appear so much as a Submariner.
Yeah, it's more of an homage.
Yeah, it's more of a homage rather than like a copy of it. I think the lettering as a design choice, it should have been bigger, but I understand where they come from. They don't want to copy entirely the submariner.
So you gave it a 5?
Yes, I've given it a 5.
Okay, so I've given it a 4. And that's because, like you said, I really don't like two things. I don't like the logo, and I don't like the size of the font also, like you said. And in general, it just seems slightly not so well thought out in terms of the dimensions for everything.
No, in that we can also touch with the markers in it by itself as well. But yeah.
So 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10.
We go now into the hands. And this, I think, is one of the saving graces, or like when it comes to like the actual design of the watch. I do really like the second hand, mostly because it feels a bit special. Now, Mercedes hands, of course, a copy of the Submariner. But the second hands kind of just like adds a bit of personality to a watch rather than it just being like a direct copy from it.
Yeah. Since I don't like the logo, that's what they've integrated in the second hand as a counterbalance. That's not to my taste, and the hands are all right. I mean, there's nothing special to it. It's quite run of the mill. I've given it a 5.
I've given it a 7.
Yeah.
Then we go into the loom, and I spoke a bit about it. The hands have really, really nice loom, I feel. Even if it doesn't last too long. The problem I have with the loom is the marker looms. It just feels like it's just like tinily added. They feel like they're not in proportion with the watch, I feel.
Yeah, especially with the hands.
Especially with the hands. I feel they should be a bit bigger and have a bit more presence. So that's why I've given it personally a 4 out of 10.
Okay. I've gone with a 6. I think it's all right. I mainly gave a 6 to the hands because I think the hands have some really great loom for the price. It has a similar potency to Vostok Amphibia loom, but it lasts longer, so it's better.
Okay. And finally, we are going to talk about the water resistance. It is 200 meter water resistance. It is a screw down crown. So we can't really have any complaints. There's no complaints in it, you know. So that's like this one is again a set rating. We have given it a 7 out of 10. I mean, 200 meters water resistance. What?
For under $100, and
you're not gonna be using it.
I mean, we've addressed the people have complaints about the Invicta leaking or whatever, but that's just, we found out that it's mostly people who don't know watches too well and they leave the crown unscrewed.
Yes.
So it's actually a decent diver. Yes,
if you leave your screw down crown unscrewed, of course you're gonna have problems with your water resistance.
That's pretty much the objective review covered. Here's the total score. You'll see it flash across the screen out of 100. And thanks for watching. Head over to our Instagram and subscribe.
See you guys next video. Cheers.